In this video, we're going to talk about some exciting upcoming events for Marvel Crisis Protocol happening in the UK. Hey guys, Rich from Richmond Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well. And as I mentioned, we've got some really exciting announcements on some pretty big events that are going to be happening for Marvel Crisis Protocol that are supported by the likes of Asmodee and AMG. And to talk to me about them, I'm joined by Zach from UKTC. So Zach, how you doing, buddy?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I am good. Really excited to talk about these events. But before we sort of jump into the details around it and things, do you want to, just for the viewers at home, do you want to introduce yourself and introduce UKTC for those that are not aware of what you guys are doing?
Sure, of course. Yeah, UKTC. It's one of those acronyms that's sort of all over the place and means a bunch of different things in different contexts. So if you Google it, you'll end up on the United Kingdom Taekwondo Championship.
I did find that multiple times. Yes, I did see that.
Yeah, so we are not a Taekwondo championship, but we are a championship of sorts. So UKTC means UK Tournament Circuit. And effectively, it is a collection of tournaments around the country. And this does two things. One, for some game systems, such as 40K, we run our own rankings. We're basically the unofficial but leading rankings provider for that game system. But in-house, I like to think of us as basically a collection of massive events. And those massive events host a variety of different game systems, not just GW ones, but obviously MCP ones, which is the topic of today's conversation. But these events tend to range from 200 to 500 up to 2,000 players across a variety of game systems. And MCP is one of those ones that, as you said, it's an Asmodee product. They're a massive company. We're really keen to see represented at more of our tournaments. Who I am, I'm basically the guy who wanted two day jobs for a living and set up the thing, and then realized he had to quit one of them. So the tournament survived, the career in finance didn't. But yeah, my background is basically as a project manager. I originally set up the first event that became part of the UKTC, which is called the London Grand Tournament. And through the growth of that and recent expansion, sort of post COVID, where we expanded to putting on an event in pretty much every major city in the country, have gone full time as a tournament organizer now.
Excellent. Living the dream for a lot of people, I'd imagine, Zach, but not without hard work, I would also imagine. Having run, even just a couple of sort of smaller events over here in the UK, doing one a year can be quite stressful. So yeah, I imagine running all of those with multiple game systems happening, kind of across the board. Yeah, a lot of work, time, and effort goes into getting them set up. So let's talk a little bit then about MCP, Zach, and why that's come on the radar for you guys. So obviously, or maybe not obviously for some people, but you guys started out with the GW Warhammer stuff, but have obviously broadened out to cover multiple gaming systems now. How did the idea of bringing MCP to the UKTC come about, and what's the sort of thoughts behind that?
It's something that we've always been interested in. So the LGT is the massive event we run. It was the first event we set up, and at the moment it sort of hovers around 20 different game systems. So we've had MCP there before. It never really got off to a flying start, so we're sort of trying to relaunch it there. But also since then, we've expanded and set up all these events around the country. And what we found with a lot of them is we have this sort of logistics and operational capacity to host really large events that may not be possible for single game systems. So if yourself, you've run MCP events before, for you to take that step from say 60 players to say 300, it's not a realistic sort of thing to do if you don't have sort of corporate resources behind you in terms of time and money, but also sharing space with other game systems. So if you want to run a 2,000 person tournament, there's no way you're going to do it just with any one game system. So I think MCP was sort of a part of this overall process of how we can make our events more inclusive and sort of game system agnostic, if you want to think about it in that perspective. So I'm a big fan of miniature games, regardless of their producer. It just so happens that MCP and Shatterpoint are two of my favorite sort of model ranges. So I've always had an ear to the ground in terms of like what we can do in relation to that. And what we've seen recently is MCP has really been taking off, particularly down in London, where I'm from. There's a great community down there, which I've been sort of following along with, and we're keen to sort of bring that to a national level circuit. So the initial sort of plan is, all right, so England and the UK is not a massive country, so how many massive events can we have within a smaller country? And for 40k, that happens to be 12. We got one a month basically. For MCP, it's probably not 12. So we've been sort of in that brainstorming stage, and that's sort of how you and I got chatting, right? Was what is the art of the possible in terms of doing some awesome stuff for an awesome game like MCP?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think as we spoke about, there's already been some great leaders and tournament organisers who have just been members of the community and doing it off their own back. But it's great to see that they're able to run. I think we've had 120, 140 player events, some multi-day events as well, spanning the whole weekend. I think I said to you, I was over at the first WTC for MCP over in Copenhagen. Similarly to what you said, we piggybacked onto the War Machine WTC that was happening. I don't know if it would have been possible without that, but it had its first year, and now it's been successful enough to actually be a standalone event in its own right. So, MCP WTC next year over in Copenhagen has the venue to itself. It isn't sharing it with War Machine. So it just shows that I think there is a love for this game out there, and there are the number of players out there who are willing to make the effort and travel to a venue to play against other like-minded players up and down, not only up and down the UK, but we have seen players from all over the world attend these events as well. So yeah, it's really exciting. And for anyone that hasn't gathered, I'll just sort of quickly say what my involvement is in this. So Zach reached out via a mutual friend a few weeks ago now, and we got talking about the idea of me coming on board to help these guys act as TO for the events. So been putting together the player packs. We have been briefing Zach on what's needed with regards to terrain and how the table should look and that sort of thing. So I will be at, if not all, but most of these events that we're talking about. Unfortunately, not playing. I'd love to be playing in them as well. Maybe for some of them, I can get a stand in and maybe sneak in there myself. But yeah, really, really excited to be part of them, and really excited to, I suppose, really kind of take MCP in the UK to the next level. We've had these, we have regular 25, 30, 40 player events that will happen at local gaming stores. There's the one or two big events that are, 100-ish players that happen every year. But I think, Zach, with the backing of somebody like UKTC behind it, and then the relationship that you've got directly with Asmodee and AMG, I think it can really make for some really, really good events. And, we only need to look at what goes on over at Adepticon, for example. The tickets for those sell out, really, really quickly. You've got to be hot off the mark to be able to get those tickets. They usually run multiple events over a single weekend for, the same game system. And I don't see any reason why, we can't achieve the same thing with MCP over here in the UK as well. So yeah, really excited about it. So what are the plans then, Zach, for the events that we've got set up at the moment? Obviously, we mentioned LGT, and for those that are followers of UKTC will have already seen tickets gone on sale for that. That's in September, I believe, this year.
Yeah, we always run the last weekend of September. So sometimes it spans sort of the 30th of September and 1st of October or something like that. But fundamentally, it's always the last Saturday, Sunday of September. And sometimes we also run Friday night side events for game systems that require it. We also run on Monday for a sort of final top cut or whatever. But generally speaking, if the event's less than, or the tournament is less than sort of 250 people, then the Friday, Saturday, Sunday is enough. And for lots of game systems, they just run on the Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, it's been launched. It launched on the 2nd of February. I think we've sold about 700 tickets or something across different game systems at the moment, and the venue's been sold out a couple of years ago when we had card games there as well. Last year we didn't have card games, so we had a bit of capacity for miniature games. And this year we're really looking to ramp up. So I'm expecting another sellout year because we've got new games such as MCP going to be coming on in force. Old World, obviously, another one that's going to be very popular. So we're expecting to sell out. The venue is a massive sort of athletic stadium just in North London. So it's actually really easy to get to via the M1 and the M25. It's not like in Central where you're going to have to park somewhere crazy. So yeah, it's that sort of our not so much Adepticon, because that would probably be more close to like UK Games Expo, but we try to say it's sort of like the UK version of LVO. So it's, instead of it being vendor focused and seminar focused, it's very much tournament focused. And our number one thing we do is run massive tournaments. Number two thing we do is all the extra ancillary stuff, so like trade stands and that sort of stuff. So that's the plan for the LGT. We've got high hopes for MCP because at this point in time, we really don't have a player cap for MCP. So if we were to sell 300 tickets, we've got enough lead in at the moment to actually do 300 people for MCP. Now, that won't always be the case. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to make that statement a couple of weeks before the event because you have this sort of trade-off between time and terrain and that sort of thing. But for all effective purposes at the moment, there's no reason we couldn't host the biggest MCP tournament that's ever happened. So I'm super excited about that. It's also just amazing because when game systems have these boards that actually look really good and are still functional, it's one thing that I'm super keen on, because as much as love for 40k has at the moment, it's not an aesthetic game from a terrain point of view. So I'm really keen to get more game systems like MCP sort of represent, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and it's something we spoke about
so
quite a lot, wasn't it? Was the terrain element of this game, because it is important. It plays a very, very functional role in the overall outcomes of games, and I think it was one of the points to you, wasn't it, that I sort of stressed, where one of the biggest feedback things that I've ever seen for any event that's been run has been the standard of the terrain that is there and is available, because it can change the outcomes of games quite considerably. So yeah, rest assured, guys, we've had a long conversation about it, and we've got a plan in place to make sure that whichever event it is, it has some great terrain on offer. So that's LGT then, Zach. What other plans do we have for MCP in the rest of the events that we're running throughout the UK?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, because it relates to something we sort of touched on earlier, but haven't fully fleshed out yet, which is this sort of Asmodee AMG support side of things. So I've been in discussions with those guys since before AMG sort of took over. We ran their European champs for Legion X-Wing and Armada in 2020. It was the Feb right before COVID happened. And obviously they had quite big internal changes during COVID sort of period, where FFG sort of transferred the Star Wars products over to AMG, and their organized play structure sort of got refurbished, for want of a better word. So the good news is
that's a political word to say, Zach. Refurbished. That's
yeah, politics is not one of my strong suits, unfortunately. But no, so we've been chatting with them for ages. So we've got some really cool announcements that we're going to be able to sort of go public with in sort of around April time after Adepticon. But they are super keen to sort of see what we've done with Games Workshop systems replicated and build upon sort of what they've been doing in the past with organized play for some of their systems. So these massive tournaments we're running every month all around the country have done wonders for like customer retention and all these sort of really important metrics for for community engagement. So like the state of a healthy game can sort of generally be seen by like how engaged that community is, and that happens at all different levels, both gaming stores, club levels, and tournaments, which is obviously the topic of our conversation. But what we want to do is effectively, run this big set of professionally run, high quality events that players can buy into, knowing that they're going to get a experience at a certain quality bar. You're not going to have issues like we've just mentioned, like a couple of tables are short on terrain because the TO ran out or anything like that. We've had a speed bump with that once in our past, a good 6 odd years ago, whatever. And I'm lucky to say I've never replicated it, but that's our goal. The rough plan at the moment is to sort of say, well, what's the art of the possible in terms of, if we ran events all the time, they wouldn't be massive. If we ran one event a year, then obviously the community would be underserved. So what we're looking at the moment is sort of a Northern Championship, a Southern Championship, a Midlands Championship, and then a sort of national scale championship. So 4 of these potentially massive events each year. What we've earmarked at the moment for the Northern Championship is Sheffield, Steel City itself. I absolutely love Sheffield, so this is one of my favorite places in the country. So I'm really excited to be bringing a massive event there, and it's a great night out, and we're super pleased to sort of have that on the roster. So London is already on sale, as you mentioned, and Sheffield will be launching fairly soon. And we'll have to see where we go from there. So yeah, it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think Sheffield does occur. It will be the first one, won't it? Will Sheffield, as the diary sits, I believe, in saying that that's going to be, is it June time, I believe, or end of
July,
July?
yeah, July 13th and 14th. So tickets will go
Yeah.
on sale in a couple of weeks, and the event itself is in July. So people still have a good sort of 5 months to plan their calendar. It will be still, we're hoping it will still be well over 100 players, and that will give us a good sort of run in to make sure that any tiny niggling things that we need to fix are fixed in advance of London, which is obviously hopefully going to be the bigger of the events. But yeah, the rough plan at the moment is Sheffield, probably Reading, and Nottingham for their sort of locations. But we have events all over the country. So at the moment, it's very much focused on, all right, let's get it right first time with Sheffield and London, and then see where we can go from there.
No, excellent. And I think having these events and things like you say, will hopefully be doing a follow up video to this and sharing a little bit more information around the AMG Asmodee side of things. But it opens up the possibilities to do qualifier events and all these sorts of thing, doesn't it, into a big event that people then can then come to as well. So I'm really excited about it. Just a little bit about kind of what we decided for, at least for the first couple events. Because one of the things I spoke to Zach about was this new timelines event that AMG have. We have decided that for these events, we're not going to use that system. So it will be fully open. You'll be able to bring, all of the characters that you want to bring. You're not going to be restricted by the timelines event that I think is happening over at Adepticon. I think that's the first one that's happening. It may be something that we look at in the future when we've built it up over a couple of years or so. But so for anyone wondering which game system we're going to be, or which version of the gaming system we're going to be using, it will be the sort of standard rule set, not that timelines rule set, which will hopefully mean that more of you will be able to come along, because it doesn't preclude some people who maybe don't even have the miniature count to be able to come along and join in a timeline event. So just for anyone wondering that side of it. Also, they've got a great TO as well. So why would you not want to come along? So yeah, Zach, anything else you wanna sort of add to what we've already said and discussed?
I mean, generally speaking, we sort of covered off a lot of it. I mean, lots of people might wonder, like, why am I on your podcast or whatever if you're the MCP guy and I'm just a dude setting up tables. But I think, the point we tried to make, which you and I spoke about originally, which is we really want to enable passionate community leaders to, for want of a better word, sort of like make our dream a reality. So lots of TOs would be sitting there being like, I run a 20-player event in my local store, and I can't go to run a 200-player event because they've got a day job. Running a 200-player event requires probably a month of work to build terrain. It's a big financial risk. So we have all of these resources that we're sort of trying to leverage to enable these people, regardless of game systems, to do awesome things for communities they care about. And that's really my passion. My passion is like, I love gaming, and I flicker between different game systems. So 40K was a big one for me for years. Currently, I'm of Magic. Shatterpoint is like right on my radar of that thing that I'm going to be sort of diving into next, and the old world as well. So I'm a bit of not a social butterfly, but a bit of a gaming butterfly. As a result of that, I've really got a lot of enthusiasm to make sure that all games get their fair dues when it comes to like what can we do in terms of running cool events, because the magic of an organized play, which is I think a better term than tournament anyway, is that the social aspect of it is basically the same regardless of what game you're playing. So you get to go away with all your mates for a weekend of fun playing games that is a shared interest. And whether you go off to the pub and have a few beers afterwards, or whether you spend lunch strategizing about your next matchups, like this aspect of gaming as a social activity, regardless of who you're playing, I think it's like the tournaments and events are the pinnacle of that. It's the most social of games you can possibly be, and for me, that's what it's all about. So.
Yeah, and I was, we were talking about this the other day with some friends in our community, and up until after or right before lockdown, the last gaming system I played, and this kind of shows my age, was fourth edition fantasy. I worked out the other day, which I stopped playing when I was about 18 or something like that. I left high school and went off into the outside world, and gaming kind of got left behind. But I sort of got back into it right before lockdown. I saw MCP in a local gaming store, decided to pick up the core box, had one demo game, and then the country was locked down for so long. And when I was younger, I'd never been to tournaments or anything like that. Played a lot online, so played a lot of the games online. That was the only way that we could do it. Obviously, over those, I don't know if it was months or years, it kind of all blends into one now. Then obviously things started to pick back up again, and I went to a few local one-day events, and that was really nice because I got to go and meet people in person who I'd been playing online with, and that was really nice. But you turn up at 9 o'clock, you maybe have a little bit of lunch, you play the rest of your games, and then 6, 7 o'clock, you're back in the car and driving home. And it wasn't until I went to my first weekend tournament where I really got that sense and idea of, actually, this is sometimes not even about the games that we're playing. It's about a group of like-minded people coming together and enjoying themselves. And whilst I loved, I think I played 6 or 7 games of MCP over that weekend, and I loved playing them all. Actually, for me, I got more out of playing some board games with guys on the Friday night, and like you say, going for a couple of beers and a bite to eat on the Saturday, and chatting about stuff. And it's a completely different setting to the little one day events that people may have attended. So I couldn't recommend it highly enough. It's such a great experience. You get to meet people who you will consider to be friends, and the next time you turn up to a tournament, they'll be there, and you'll be able to catch up. And it's such a great experience. The sort of weekend events versus the one dayers. So yeah, highly recommend it. Even I even flew to Copenhagen last year to go and attend one over there, which was again a little bit daunting because you don't quite know what you're in for. But as long as they're run well, and the events are good and the tables are good, you'll have a great time. And I know through speaking with Zach and the work, time, and effort that these guys are putting into running these events. that, you know, over here in the UK at the GTs, they're going to be exactly the same as that, and they'll be a great experience for everyone. That's just my little amble there. But there you go, Zach.
Well, I couldn't agree more, and you know, my personal story is much the same. You know, I got back into gaming after sort of a teenage hiatus, and went to my first tournament, and immediately sort of said, looked online and was like, "Where's the UK's version of all these big American events?" And I couldn't find one, so that's how I got started. So yeah, I'm much the same.
Excellent, excellent. And Zach doesn't know this, but for anyone that follows my channel, they know that we love to do giveaways on this channel. So what I'm going to be doing is, if you leave a comment on this video or on the post that I put in the Discord, leave a comment saying that you want to be entered into the prize draw. And this is not from Zach, this is from me, from the channel. I'll be giving away one ticket to the upcoming Sheffield GT. So get yourselves in that prize draw. And I'll draw that probably in the next month or so. So to give all of you time that didn't win a chance to get yourselves a ticket as well. But so make sure that you leave a comment down in the comment section below, as I say, or over on the Discord, and I'll draw that in the next month or so. And one lucky winner will get themselves a ticket to it. But yeah, there'll be a link down in the description below on where you can buy tickets for the London GT. As Zach said, we're going to be announcing and putting online the Sheffield one very, very soon. So as soon as that goes up online, you'll find it at the bottom of the videos. Plus, you'll find it on the Discord server as well. If you have any questions, any concerns about the event itself, how it's going to be run, you know, location, anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, Discord is the best place, and I'll answer any questions that you've got about it, and share with you any other details that I can share. So yeah, Zach, anything else to add before we jump off?
No, just you know, if people want to check out more, the UKTC's website is www.uktc.events, and you sort of click through there, you can see the different ones we have around the country. The LGT has its own one because the event itself is much bigger than our sort of typical monthly events. So that's at www.lgtpresents.co.uk. And those two places together are sort of where we host all of the information about what we do.
Excellent. And again, there'll be links down in the description to both of them. Zach, thank you so much for joining me to talk about these events. I'm really, really excited about them, and knowing what the community is like out there, I'm sure they're going to be excited about them as well. And the fact that they're not just restricted to just the London event. I know in the past that has put some people off, but the fact that we are, you know, we're not just doing it in London, we've got Sheffield and, as you say, probably Nottingham and Reading as well. It should give, hopefully, more players more of an opportunity to attend one of these bigger events. So yeah, thank you for not only joining me on this video, but also just thank you for what you've done for the community as well. You know, it takes individuals to step up and do something, and you know, you've done a great job and built a great pedigree in what you're doing, and I'm really excited to be part of it and have MCP part of it as well. So yeah, just thank you from me, and I'm sure the rest of the community as well.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. Guys, we're going to leave it there. As I say, all the details will be down in the description below. Usual things, I'm not going to rattle them all off on this one. But as always, it leaves me just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.